Okay, close that out. All right, let's go ahead and, so today I downloaded chapter 2 zip file because I'm going to need that template file in there, and then the case or class activity chapter 6. Okay, so I got both of those over here. Get those open. All right. And I'm going to make a new folder. Okay, all right, so let's get going on 6.6. So this one, we're gonna do some more layout, 2-column layout, except this time we're gonna put the nav over on the right side of the page. All right, and we're gonna set this up with an external style sheet. Okay, so I'm gonna have to grab some files from our starter files here. So let's create a new folder in here to put everything in. We'll just call this one CH6 practice. And we're going to grab, let's see, starter 2, lighthouse island JPEG, and lighthouse logo JPEG. All right, so I've got that one, and then those two there. All right, so let's get those guys in there. And then let's go ahead and open up brackets. And let me, so you guys can see that better. All right, so let's open up that starter file. Okay, let's resave this as index.html. And then what we're going to do, we're going to link up our external style sheet. So up here in the head section. Okay, let's get that added. It's on here. Link href equals, we're going to call it lighthouse.css. And we've got to tell it it's a style sheet. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's save that. And then we're going to make a new document here in brackets. And we're going to do a save as. Let's just save this real quick. And we're just going to call this lighthouse.css. All right, so we're going to start coding our style sheet. Okay. All right, so first thing, we're going to do that universal selector for the box sizing property. Okay, so universal selector, we use the asterisk. And box sizing. Colon and border box. All right, so that's the first one we'll put in there. All right, so now we're going to start putting in some styles for the body. So background color, let's get that set. Put the value in there. semicolon. All right, and let's tell it what fonts we're going to use. So font family, Donna, comma, space Arial, comma, space sans serif. All right, so let's add a wrapper now. So let's do an ID selector. We're going to call it wrapper. All right, so margin, we're going to set that to 0 and auto. Okay, so we got two different values there. The two sides are going to be 0, and then the other two sides are going to be set to auto. So when we expand and change the screen size, it flows right. And then width. And we want this wrapper to be 80% of the screen size. And then we want to set some minimum and maximum widths. All right, so min width will be 960 pixels. Semicolon, and then our max width, we'll set that at 1200. We'll put a different background color in this. 3C 7E6. All right. And then let's put a little bit different text color. So like an off blue there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put a selector for our header section of our website or web page. Okay, so we want the background color to be different on this as well, because we're kind of creating that the different sections of the site, okay, to make them look a little different, so it's easier to distinguish the different sections and parts of it. All right. And again, different text color. C0005D. Okay. Font sizing, we want it to be a little bit bigger than the body font, so let's set that at 150%. And we're also going to set up some padding for the header. Of 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and then 155 pixels. So you'll see how that plays out when we take a look at it in the browser. And then we're going to have a background image here in the header. All right, but we don't want it to repeat. So we're going to set our background repeat setting to no repeat. And then we're going to tell it what image we're going to use. Okay, so background image. All right, so we use this URL syntax, and we're going to tell it lighthouse logo.jpg. Okay, so that's our header. Move on to the next page. Okay, the next section we're going to do is the nav area. All right, so let me save this before we go any further. It's always a good idea to just kind of save as you go in case something happens and computer crashes or something. That way you don't lose all your work. Okay, so nav, we're going to set the nav. All right, and for this nav, we want it to be on the right side of the browser. Okay, so to do that, remember we're going to use the float. Okay, so we can use this float option to move stuff around. Okay, so we want it to go to the right side. And we also want to set a width for this browser because it's going to be kind of a vertical on the right side. We want it 200 pixels wide. We want our links to be kind of bold, so let's do font weight. And we'll set those at bold. And then we want to have our letter spacing. We're going to make that a little bit bigger than normal, just to kind of emphasize those links. So we'll set those to 0.1 em. Okay, now I'll put a little bit of space in between each letter in the links. All right, now we're going to add a main section. Main element selector, we're going to set a different background color. Okay. That white. And then for our main text color, we're going to make that black. Right. And then we're going to do padding on it. So padding, whoops. 10 pixel, 20 pixel. Okay, so let's set that. 10 pixel on two of the sides, 20 pixel on the other side. And we want it to display block. All right, so it flows. Oops. Get that out of there. Okay, and then overflow, we're going to set that to auto. See how that works here in a second. Okay, so now we need our footer. Okay, so basically we're setting up all the different parts of our page with different selectors. Okay, so with the footer, we want the font to be smaller, so let's do font size 70%. And we want it to be text align center and 10 pixels of padding. So let's set that to center. Padding, we're going to use 10 pixels. And again, different background color. So 869 DC7. All right, and so we want that footer to extend all the way across. So we have to clear that float so it goes underneath the nav area. Okay, so we're going to do clear both. Okay, so let's save this and let's just jump back to our index and see where we're at right now. All right. Okay, so you see we got our wrapper here, we have our header, we got our nav over here to the right, and then we have our main section, and then the footer goes all the way across there at 80%. Right. Okay, and then we use that, right, so in the main section, we also did an overflow set to auto, okay? So what that's doing is it's letting our text, when it gets to the end of to the end here of the main section, it's just going to wrap down. Okay, it's not going to continue into the nav bar. Okay, so that's why we use that. All right, so let's finish this thing up. We want to make the this nav area a little prettier. Okay, we don't want to use the bullets and the ugly links there. So let's do some work with that, as well as the H2. Okay, so let's start with the H2 here. Let's change the text color to 869 DC7. Set our font family Again, we'll use Arial or sans serif. Okay. And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to set up an ID selector called float right. Okay, and with this float right, set the float to the right side and a margin of 10 pixels. Okay, and then let's work on our nav area here. All right, so we have a nav unordered list. Okay, we're going to tell it list style type is none. Okay, that's going to get rid of those bullets. And we want the margin set to 0 and also our padding at 0. Okay, and for our anchor elements there, so the links, we can also style those. Let's set up a selector for them. Text decoration, none. I'll get rid of the underline. And then we're going to do some padding. 20 pixels around those guys. Display block. So it flows nice in that set area there. And do background color. So this is going to make us, it's going to help us create those button looking areas for the links. Okay, so B3, C7, E6. And we're going to put a border on the bottom, and that's going to, again, give us kind of that look of having a button. So 1 pixel, solid, and black. Okay. Great. Now we're going to work on the pseudo classes for those links. Okay, so nav space A colon link. All right, so here's where we can style this to create that rollover effect. Show is going to be set at white. All right, so then nav A colon visited. Okay, color for that one, EA, EA, EA. And then our last one here, nav A hover. All right, so this is where we're setting up that hover state. So it changes color when we roll over it. And we're going to do 869 DC7 for that, as well as changing the background color. So not only the text there, but the background as well. Give us that button effect. Okay. All right, so let's just review what we got here in our style sheet. Okay, so we have our border box, the box sizing set for border box, background, color and font set up for our body. All right, and then we have our wrapper set up. Okay, so this is our main div area. And then we have a header, our nav, the main section where the main part of the text will go, and then our footer. All right, then we have an H2 where we have that set up. Okay, float, we have float right, ID selector, and then we have our nav area set up with the different pseudo classes for our links. All right, so let's save that. Let's look at the HTML real quick. So we're linking our style sheet. Okay, we have our ID selector set here for our wrapper, which starts with that opening div tag right under the opening body tag, and then we close that right there at the end. And somebody had mentioned commenting, okay, to add commenting in your HTML, that right there. Okay, so you have your basically a tag here with an exclamation point, 2 hyphens, and then you can put your comment in there just to make sure you had 2 hyphens in the closing bracket there for the commenting. All right, okay, so let's take a look at what it looks like here. All right, so we got pretty nice clean page. Okay, so we have our nav over here. All right, looks a lot better than just those regular links. Okay, so we created that kind of a button effect just through those few selectors that we set up in the CSS. All right, so you know, you can create a pretty decent template for a web page just through some basic HTML and CSS. All right. Okay, let's move on to, so we're doing on time. All right, let's move to the next one. This is for a header text image replacement. Okay, so we kind of touched on this last week, where if you wanted to have a logo of a business, but yet you still want to follow kind of accessibility guidelines, you need to provide some text for a screen reader to read that. All right, so we can do that. So we're page 270, 6.7. Let's go ahead and close this out. All right, so let's do another folder here. We'll call this CH, or replace CH6. All right, and let's move a few files in there. Starter 3, background, and lighthouse banner. Okay, so in our chapter 6, we need starter 3. Okay, let's move that guy, copy that one. And then in our starters files, let's use background and lighthouse banner. All right, so those. All right, let's open that starter file up in brackets. All right, so we have an embedded style sheet here. Okay, with a body, wrapper, nav, main, footer, H2, pretty similar to what we just did in the previous one. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to edit the header. All right, so the header selector, where's that? Okay, we don't have it, so we have to create it. All right, let's just go down here and set up a header selector. Okay, so again, I'm in the embedded style sheet in the head section of the page. All right, so we're going to set up a height of 150 pixels. Okay, so before we do that, let's just show you what let me save as index. Let's preview what we have so far before we add the code. All right, so see we have a header, right? It's set up, but we just have text in there, okay? Lighthouse Island Bistro. And we still want to keep that because if somebody has a screen reader, okay, if somebody's is vision impaired or needs to be able to know what that is up there in that header section, we need to keep that text, okay? Because it won't display the images, right? So we're going to keep that, but yet have a logo at the same time is basically what we're doing, okay? So we're going to set up a header selector and set that height 50 pixels. Margin for the bottom, 0. We're going to add in our background image. Okay, so this will be our banner image there that has the logo in it. All right, so Lighthouse banner. And we don't want that to repeat. Background, repeat, we'll set that to none, no repeat. Okay, this up a little. The next thing we're going to add here is in our H1, do we have H1 set up? No, okay. So we need to create an H1, right? Because we have an H1 here. That's what that text is in. Here's the header, okay? So let's set up a style for our H1. Okay, so for this, all right, so here's where we're going to hide that text. All right, so we're going to set text indent to 100%. All right, and we're going to say white space. Okay, so any of the white space, we're going to set that to no wrap. And overflow. Okay, so this is the overflow of the text. We want that hidden. Okay, so remember the last one we did overflow to auto. This time we're going to hide it. Okay, so let's save this now and take a look. All right, so same page. We didn't get rid of that H1 text. All it's doing is the browser's, it's now hiding that text, but we're also at the same time displaying that banner image that has the logo in it. Okay. All right, so that's just a little kind of best practice for making sure that your page is still accessible. Okay. All right, where are we at? 1 o'clock. Okay, all right, we'll do 6.8, see how far we get. This might be the last one for the day. So this one we're going to work with creating an image gallery, okay, with a resizable type of a grid set up for those. All right, so let's see what we need to get here. New folder called gallery, and then we need to copy some photos in here. And we're going to use that chapter 2 template file. Okay. All right, so let's make a new folder, gallery. And then in our chapter 6, we need photo 1. We don't need the thumbnails. That'll be in the next activity. Photos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. Let's go ahead and copy those over. All right, and then in the chapter 2, let's get that template HTML file and move it over and copy that. Okay. Okay, so we got our photos and templates. Let's go ahead and open that up in brackets. Okay, let's just do a save as real quick. Just kind of have it to get into. Okay, as any home page, you want to save that as index.html. All right, let's change the title, image gallery. Okay. So let's make an H1 element. Right here in the body. We're going to call this image gallery. Okay. All All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set up an unordered list, okay, with these different photos in it. All right, so let's go ahead and start out with our unordered list tag there. And then within each of those, we have a list item. All right, and then let's do our image source. Okay, so it's going to be photo 1. We have an alt. So our alt text to describe what it is. Okay, Golden Gate Bridge. We're going to set up a width and a height for those images. Okay. All right, close that. And we just need to have a name. Photos of Golden Gate Bridge. So this text will show up. Okay. So those are, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that and paste it 5 times. I don't have to retype all of that stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. Okay, so then I'm just going to go through here. Let's change that one to photo 2, which is, we're going to call it Rocky Shoreline. And I'm getting these names of the photos from over on page 272 in the image 6.39. All right. Okay, so Rocky Shoreline. And then next one is, whoops, change that. All right, our next one's photo 3. And that one is waves crashing. Change that. All right, number 4, ocean sunset. Okay, number 5, waterfall on the beach. And then our last one is fog. Okay. 6, fog moving in. All right. So let's save that. And we'll just preview it right now to see what we have. Okay, so it's basically just a list now, right, with the images. Okay. All right, so we want it to flow in kind of more of a gallery style, right? So we can do that through the CSS. All right, so let's go up here into our head section and let's put an embedded style sheet in there. Okay, first one, let's do a selector for the unordered list. All right, and that one, let's do list type style to none. All right, and then with our list items, we can set a selector style for those as well. All right, so now we're going to set these to display inline block. All right, so that's going to get that, it's going to get them to move across the page horizontally. All right, and we can also set up some width, 225 pixels. Put some padding at the bottom, 10 pixels. Margin, 10 pixels. All right, let's change the background color. Let's align the text to center. Font style, we're going to set that to italic. And our font family, let's use a serif font, so Georgia serif. Okay, so we got those two styles added there. So let's save this now, and all right. Okay, so now we have a nice page. No matter what the screen size is, it kind of reflows. Okay, so even if it's like on a mobile, okay, then it's that one column, or like a tablet would be 2 column, or then a full desktop view. Okay, so we get it to do that through that display inline block. Okay. All right, we're at 110. I think I'm gonna stop there for today, and we'll finish the rest of these up on Wednesday. Okay, so let's look real briefly at our schedule. Okay, so we're going to finish up these class activities on Wednesday. All right, and then you have a couple quizzes for this week that you need to get done, and then the case study. All right, so the case study will be, you'll be incorporating a lot of these things that we've been doing like Friday and then today into the Pacific Trails site. All right. Everybody should have gotten the project, web project topic approval turned in over the weekend. If you didn't get that done this week and turned in to me, so I can review those and give you feedback on for the final web project. Okay, so that should wrap up this week then, and then next week we'll get into mobile designing for the mobile. Like phone screen size. All right, any questions before we head out today? No? Okay, all right. Everybody have a good day, and we'll see you on Wednesday.